Hello, sweet friends, on this Good Friday of all days. I love Easter and I love all that it means. And even though today is a somber day, I still just get so excited about the future, right? Like the future of just the resurrection, um, that we celebrate in a few days, but even just the future in the sense of our life, of heaven, of what God has for us on earth, but also as He's making us new and renewing us. And that's really exciting to me. I just love that. And thinking about like the unity and all those things that will come with all of that. Like I just get really excited. I get excited. I love Easter. I love thinking about heaven and thinking about the future and what God is building and everything. And I wanted to talk today a little bit in that line, but also just remembering in line with like with the email I sent this morning and posted in my group, and something that like just really touched my heart yesterday as I was thinking about what to write. I even like totally changed the email that I was going to send today to something different so that I could share that with you guys. But I wanted to read this from Luke 14 because it just sort of reminded me in a couple of conversations that I had with clients or even in friends. Like this came up a lot yesterday, and so I wanted to read this. Luke 14:25 through 33. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to encounter another king in war, will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him, who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple." And we think about that, and I think often we don't always count the whole cost of following Jesus. I think sometimes we absolutely do, but I think we are fortunate to not have it cost us a whole lot here, right? To be fortunate to not have to give up our reputation, our families, our way of life, our livelihood, any of that to follow Jesus. And so for us, the cost of being a disciple is actually a lot lower than for a lot of people. Though ultimately the cost for being a very mature disciple still becomes very much that same thing. Like we have to be sold out, as they say, and be moving forward and feeling good. And so we don't always count the cost of that fully, but we do often count the cost of our business in a way, right? Like we look at the different options we have in front of us, or sometimes we hide it from people because we are scared that they'll mock us. Like, what if we can't build this thing that we feel like God is calling us to? What happens then? What do I do then? And we end up in this place of like being afraid of being mocked, and so we hold ourselves back. And so like when he was describing like, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it. And I think we do that. We do that a lot. Like we actually do sit down and count up the cost. Like what does it actually take to host a website and to invest in this thing or that thing? But the thing that we don't count on is getting results from those things, right? Like when we're counting the cost, we also have to count the benefit and see if it's worth it, right? So we can count the cost and say like, what is for example, when we count the cost of following Jesus, that we have to give up everything. But we get Jesus, right? Like, we get heaven, we get promises, we get these incredible things in return, and Jesus is better than all of those. Like, we get Jesus. And so sometimes when we count the cost of investing in our discipleship, we forget that. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed because I love thinking about, like, we get Jesus. And when we count the cost of doing business, we count the money that goes out, right? And that's wise. Like, you should absolutely be tracking how much money you're spending, where that's going, how that's working. But often we see that as a sunk cost, like, oh, I'll pay for this thing. And we don't necessarily look at, like, well, yeah, if I pay for this thing, though, then what does that result in on the other side that can further fund what I'm doing? So with every cost, there is a benefit payoff, right? Like, even your website hosting, then you have a website for people to come to and learn about your services and get on calls with you. Or, you know, the cost of your time spending in Facebook groups. If you're doing it right, it will create more opportunities for you to get more relationships, build more relationships, and get more clients. But you don't always count those things because we're scared. We're scared that we won't make it. We're scared that we're going to get to the end and be the one that's mocked, right? That we're going to get to the end and have to throw in the towel and just ask for people to give us peace instead. And I think that's the wrong way to look at your business. And that's the wrong way to look at discipleship, right? Like, we can't just sit and count the cost and go, you know what, though? I'm not sure that this Jesus guy is worth that. And I don't think any of us would do that at this point, having experienced Jesus. But I think it's also important to do that in our business, right? Like, if you are looking at that email provider that you're scared to step up to get the automation because you know that you'll be paying $30 a month, you know, and if you don't have 100 people, then that feels like a waste. But what does that give you? That gives you, like, flexibility with the way that you're able to communicate and build relationships, even in an automated way to build trust with people. And that gives you a lot of freedom. And that potentially gives you clients, right? Or you're thinking about investing in that coach. Well, if you really believe that they're the ones that will help you get results, you're not wasting that money. You're counting the costs and going, you know what, but on the other side, I'm going to come out with this other thing, right? And if you're looking at a course or a software or any other tool and you're limiting it to only what it costs, you are missing half the picture. You're missing half the picture because the other side is, but what do you gain, right? What do you gain from that thing? And I know it's scary, but I think what it comes down to is we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe that we are capable. We don't believe maybe that God will use us. We don't believe in our ability to create results. And maybe that's because you've had bad experiences. You haven't had people walk with you through those things. You haven't had people do that with you. You haven't. And that's legitimate, right? Like, maybe you've worked with a coach and you didn't implement and you didn't get results, right? Because they didn't ask you to, or they didn't hold you accountable, or, you know, they just taught you a lot of stuff and left you on your own. Maybe you've taken courses that sucked, right? They were bad and they didn't have the cost, like, it didn't have the cost, or you didn't have the time to implement them. Like, you sort of went through them and then you forgot, or you put it on the back burner. And you counted the cost now, looking back and going, ugh. So we've had bad experiences. And we could say that with anybody that we put our trust in, right? Like, why do we get married? Why do we be in relationships when you've only had bad ones in the past, right? Because then you're just counting the past cost and not the potential future gain, right? Like, So in anything in life, you're always weighing those benefits, always weighing that difference. You're always counting the cost. But when you count the cost, you have to count the benefit. Otherwise, you are going to be missing out on so many amazing experiences. So, while I would love you to be a part of Believers Business Academy, and I believe that it is an incredibly beneficial thing, and that I'm committed 100% to showing up and helping you get where you want to go, to showing up and providing the best value that I know how, and giving you the community of support and the accountability partner to keep you on track, and the courses and the knowledge that you can get. I believe that's the benefit. And the cost for all of that is $37 a month right now. Yes, you need to commit to 3 months, but I think you need to commit to 3 months of anything in your business. And that's why I'm holding to that. That's why I feel like that is so important. That's a non-negotiable for me. If you're not willing to commit to 90 days of action in your business, then BBA is not going to work for you, right? Because you're just going to come in and come out, and you won't have that support for a long time. So while you're adding up the cost, and it is a cost, everything in business, right, has some kind of cost, time or money. You'll always be trading those things. There is a benefit. There is a reward. There is something better on the other side. But that depends on you showing up to do it. And that depends on you, this being a thing that you think will actually benefit or that you can use and implement. And if you don't think that, that's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I understand. But if you do think that and you don't take the risk, if you don't count on yourself, then I think you're going to miss a lot. And I think you're going to hold yourself back for a long time. And I don't want you to do that. So today I want you to count the cost. On this Good Friday, I want you to count the cost, spiritually and in business, right? Like, I want you to count the cost of what Jesus did for you and what you get. To count the cost of following him more deeply and what you get in him. And to count the cost of investing in your business and in whatever form that you may be considering that, count the cost and weigh the benefit. And I think then you'll see clearly what your next step is. So today I just encourage you to count the cost, because there's always going to be something that's going to cost you. At every new level, there will be something that's going to cost you. And we have to determine, with the Holy Spirit's guiding and leading, what really will, and discernment, right? Like, what really is the wise thing. But every new level has a new thing that you'll have to take that step in. And it really all starts with believing in yourself that it's possible. So if you believe that for yourself, and you believe that you'll show up for those 90 days and work hard, then I'd love to have you in Believers Business Academy, because I think it's going to be a great place. It's going to be an amazing experience, and I'm certainly excited and committed to showing up for you. But if you're not sure on that, then maybe take a step back for a little bit, and reevaluate if business is even the right thing for you, because business is always going to cost these same types of things. And maybe it is, and this isn't the right resource. Maybe this isn't the right cost for you, and that's okay too. But at least now you know, and you're not doing it out of fear, and you're not leaving it out of fear, but you're doing it for yourself. So I just encourage you to count the cost today. And because I think that's important for us to do for ourselves and for others. And I just want to encourage you to do that with a sober mind as we think on what today means and the cost of our salvation, but as we look forward to the gloriousness of what's to come, of heaven. I'm just getting excited talking about it. That this is what we're here for. That this is what you're made for. And we've got this glorious thing coming to us, and we have counted that cost and made it worth it. So I want you to think about everything you do in that context, even like the conversations that you have today. Like what's the cost of your time in those things, and how can you do those in a context that reaches toward our heavenly future? So count the cost, and if you find that it's worth today to step in and that you trust yourself and are committed to being better, and you think Believers Business Academy is part of that, I encourage you to join us. You know the link, kateboyd.me/BBA. If that's not right for you, I get it, and that's okay too. But I really do think that together we can do a lot of great things. But only if you're in it. Okay, talk to you guys later.